Welcome to the Zinnov podcast. You are listening to our Business Resilience series, where we bring to you conversations with eminent industry stalwarts and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their insights on overcoming challenges and the mindset that helps them navigate through journeys of crisis resilience and growth.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Zinnov podcast. I am Praveen Badada, Managing Partner at Zinnov and your host for today. We are now in the new normal, new lifestyle, new workplace, new expectations. The role that technology has been playing in helping us ease into this new normal has been unprecedented. Today, we will be talking about one such key technology that has been at the forefront of driving rapid digital transformation. This is automation. At Zinnov, we have been on a mission to demystify and simplify the automation space. And as part of this effort, we recently released our Hyper-Intelligent Automation Landscape Report 2020 jointly with the leader in the automation space, which is UiPath. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting Diego Lumento, VP of Product Marketing at UiPath, to discuss the various aspects of automation from the lens of current business scenario. Welcome to the Zinnov podcast, Diego.
Thank you, Praveen. It's a pleasure to be here with you today, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Great. So let's just dive right in. First of all, congratulations on attaining the Decacon status, Diego. It's really $10 billion of valuation for your company. This truly has been a fascinating journey for UiPath. Specifically, starting from very humble beginnings in Eastern Europe to now achieving this level of success across the world. I would get started with this, right? What do you think UiPath has done differently to create such a globally distributed business?
Yeah, sure. And thank you. It's been quite a journey the last couple of years at UiPath. When I joined because I was fascinated by the technology, and I saw the impact it was having on within our customers, both for their employees, for their customers, and just in general, how it's helping them transform and accelerate their digital transformation. And so we had an idea that this thing was big, and certainly from it was growing fast, even back then. But it's been interesting to be along on this ride and truly see how impactful it's been to our customers. I think the foundation of what's driven this type of growth is, as I just said, the value it provides. It's real. It's true. It's faster time to value than a lot of the other ways of automating. And I'm sure we'll talk about some of the differences between the UI approach to automation versus maybe some of the more legacy approaches. But it's been it provides value. So I think starting with, what can you do? How do you replicate, or what have we learned from some of our successes is the foundational technology, the core value it provides is just off the charts. And that's where it all starts. If you don't have that, nothing really else matters. It's hard to win without really proving the value. As far as us specifically, we were very intentional about our growth into our second and third acts. We thought a lot about what's going to happen as we reach this milestone or cross this barrier, and where do we need to be next year and the year after that and the year after that. And so we thought long term while we were executing short term. We made some mistakes. There's been no shortage of some of the critics, and we've done things sometimes imperfectly, but we were comfortable making those mistakes. I think the foundation comes from thinking about the long term and building a scalable system of leadership. We have some core values of being bold, immersed, moving fast, but while doing it humbly. And we did that. We were intentional in the type of people we hired to do that. So we brought in people. We quickly realized we needed people who have done this at scale. We brought them in, and then we matched our internal values and the way we ran the business and the technology that we've developed to external value framework, which we believe, you talk to anyone at UiPath and we all feel like we're trying to help move society forward, and help society, which is counterintuitive sometimes with the automation story, but we truly feel that we're building a technology that's going to help people in the long run do more interesting work, and that's the type of people we hire. And so when you hire people like that, they don't complain about hours, and we try to provide good work-life balance, but we find special people who are mission driven, and I think that's really the core of the success. Scalable leadership, mission driven people, and then being focused on our mission and our goal is kind of what it comes down to.
Excellent. So what you're saying is, of course, there's a people side of the story, there's a go-to-market and opportunity side of the story, there's, of course, technology side of the story. I would also think that there's a lot of sort of value in terms of the ideation of the market itself, right? And which is where my second question is, Diego, right? If I look at UiPath, you guys, at least in terms of product innovations, have been at the forefront of everything. You've been innovating at a pace that no one is able to match up to, right? How do you manage to stay ahead of the market all the time, right? What's the recipe behind that?
I think when it comes to innovation strategy, there's a lot of forces that pull at you in terms of what you can do, right? You have market forces, you have investors, you have the analysts like you guys, helping us understand what you're seeing. And then, you have the customers, right? And quite frankly, the most important voice in our innovation strategy is working with the customers to understand where they're going. And I know that's, everyone says that, and it's mostly because it's right and it's an easy thing to say, but it's really in the fabric of the company, and it's generated by our founding story, by our founder, Daniel Dines. He was building a good business, a good technology with UiPath, several years ago, but we had no idea. He had no idea, what the scale of impact was until he got a call from a customer in India who, wanted to show him what they were using our core automation technology for, which was at the time mostly screen scraping type of stuff. And he went to India, spent 3 months with that customer to really understand what they were trying to do, and then came back and built a product to help them solve that problem, because he saw, wow, this is a real challenge they have, getting data from multiple sources where there's no API. And I can build obviously the core team had a talent in developing that type of UI driven extraction of data. And we could do this pretty well, but the customers are not just looking to, scrape this data and put it in a spreadsheet. They're trying to move it between different systems. That's interesting. So he learned that from spending time with the customer and seeing how they were trying to use our product. And that's where the idea for the core RPA platform came from. And we've continued that level of customer driven innovation throughout the life of our company. We have customer and product advisory boards. Our forum is active. 40,000 plus people are in there every month, providing feedback. They're telling us what they love, what they don't love. They're telling us what they want. We have insider preview programs. Studio X, which we released a couple of months ago, even before we released it to the general public during our beta program, we collected nearly 100 pieces of feedback from customers that were in the early beta that made its way into the product. So it's really, harping on a little this idea of customer generation, but it focusing on that and emphasizing how important that is has made all our product managers and our engineers really, really receptive and open to hearing what customers say. So that's what drives the innovation. It's a pretty simple formula. It's just hard to stick to when you have a lot of forces coming at you.
Got it. So talking about customers a little bit more, Diego, I think historically automation, at least in the last 3 to 5 years, automation has been evolving as a integral core priority of enterprises. And early part of this year, then COVID-related pandemic happened. So I'm curious to know, what has this period taught a company like UiPath? How are the changing priorities of customers forcing you to reimagine your roadmap from a product innovation standpoint?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we live in interesting times, right? We didn't know what to expect. Obviously, like no one else saw this coming, and like every other company, we thought, wow, okay, in March timeframe, things are starting to shut down. What does this mean? We were, concerned like everyone else. And, very quickly, our customers were all in mass turning to us and saying, I need to ramp up what I'm doing here because, people are not, people are right now focusing on moving from offices to working at home. We're struggling with paper processes. Those things are not getting processed. And, one of our customer advisory board members said on our last meeting was, anything that was paper-based failed. Anything that was automated kept running. And so they came to us really quickly and said, there's like some really, really core processes that we have to automate right now. So there were two types of things. One, what resiliency do we need to build into the business right now? We're concerned about business continuity when they were thinking long term. But in the short term, they were thinking, okay, I have all these processes that are failing. How can I automate them as quickly as possible? And that agility has really, really taken hold. And that was really the early days of the pandemic. So I think it shifted from, okay, we want to optimize our business. We want to take cost out where we can. We want to improve the employee and customer experience. This is what we were hearing a lot the last couple of years and drove the growth. The idea of continuity and agility have completely taken over our customers' mindsets right now. And fortunately, automation is a really good technology to help with that.
Interesting. So let's talk a little bit outside UiPath and in the broader market space, right? I think automation, and based on the report that we jointly did, Diego, we know that the addressable market is pretty huge. I think we're looking at about $65 billion worth of addressable market for this technology. And clearly, everyone in the market space is looking at that opportunity and provide the right solutions to participate in that opportunity. Bottom line, I think the competition in this space, from a technology standpoint, is increasing rapidly, and we have started seeing companies like Microsoft, IBM, some of the largest technology brands starting to focus on this, right? What is your view of the market, right? What do you think is going to happen as more and more of these players, start looking at this opportunity in a more serious way?
Yeah, it's a great question, and obviously we think about that a lot. Like you said, with a TAM, with a total addressable market of the size that you mentioned, there's just no doubt that everyone's going to get involved, and we saw that, we know that, and we see it coming. We've seen it coming for a long time. We're happy to actually see it happening because it validates the power of RPA and automation. I think it's going to be great for the customers because, as pure fundamental economic theory shows, competitiveness in a market leads to greater innovation and better solutions for the end customer. So it's forcing everyone to be, even more customer driven, even more innovative. And we're good with that because that's our, as we said earlier in the podcast, that's our sweet spot. We're an engineering driven company. We're a customer focused company. We believe the race is around innovation, and we feel good about, being in an innovation battle.
Got it. So taking your idea of the innovation battle further, Diego, one of the questions I had was in terms of predicting the future, what do you think is the future of automation? What are we looking at in the next sort of 3 to 5 years time frame in terms of the global landscape with respect to automation?
Yeah, it's another great question. I think you guys really define it well, with the hyper intelligent automation framework that you have. It is way less about point solution around, RPA and more about an end-to-end solution that takes a automation, through the entire life cycle of, determining what to automate, the best tools to actually build the automations, the best interfaces and engagement models for the end users to work with automation, the best ways to optimize the business between analytics and understanding, the value and the impact of automation. So I think this life cycle is we've seen it since we started talking about the life cycle. It's been an accelerator for our business, and our customers are really, really embracing that. So I think that's the first big wave that we should be watching for. I think the idea of citizen development and low code, that's massive. We see when a customer starts their journey, they're typically doing it from a top-down approach, centralized. The COE is picking what to automate. And when they get the end user starting to work with automation and give the end user the ability to make suggestions on what to automate, we see this flywheel develop, right? Which is amazing and really starts to drive more ideas into the center of excellence. But then when you supplement that with the ability for, the more technically savvy users like this, we call them citizen developers, to build their own automations, we see this flywheel explode. And we see, so then all of a sudden you have, a couple percentage of the company who are building their own automations. And then the COE's picking up on those and saying, whoa, that's a really interesting automation there that you built to manage your calendar or whatever it is, or, go up and look for, this data that you need to do every day in your job. We want to distribute that across the whole company. And then that makes that flywheel spin even faster. So I think enabling citizen development, enabling low code, making it easier and easier to build work task automations and business applications is going to be a huge way forward. And then I think also the continued investments in AI-powered automation. We are seeing AI creep into the platform in subtle ways, but really powerful ways, like intelligent document processing, like being able to bring decision models to a robot in the midst of a workflow when they have to make a decision. And that's going to become increasingly more important as the low-hanging fruit of automation, is kind of automated already. Our customers are looking for, how can we automate these more complex types of processes? And that's where AI will come into play. So I think those are kind of the big areas. Hyper automation, this hyper intelligent automation framework, citizen development, low code, and AI powered automation.
Got it. So what will be your advice to customers who continue to be on the fence with respect to automation decisions? And by the way, our report found out that 25% of the largest of large global enterprises are still undecided, right? So what's your recommendation to them?
Yeah. I think you just test it out. That's the beauty of it. It's pretty easy to get started. Us and all the other vendors make it easy to download and try. That's been our kind of core ethos is we want to democratize it. So, free download, free training. Our academy is free, always will be. Start small, find a use case. You don't have to make a big investment in it. Give it to someone in the line of business, get them to automate something that is a clear bottleneck. And we can help. We have all kinds of guides on what processes to pick, and you can find that on our website. But just try it out. You're not going to have to invest a lot to do a pilot, and then you'll see if the ROI makes sense to you or not. Quite often it does, and it just takes off from there. But you don't have that's the beauty of it. You don't have to invest a gigantic sum to see if there's any value. You can really just get started and try it, and that's what the pioneers did, and so that's what I would suggest.
Great, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Diego, for your time and sharing those insights with us. And of course, thank you to our audience for tuning in to this episode of Zinnov Podcast. Do keep an eye on this space, as we are not stopping with our efforts to make automation scalable and accessible. And of course, in partnership with UiPath, we have recently launched our landscape report. So please feel free to write to us, and we'll be happy to share a free copy of the report, and hopefully that'll enable you to just get started. Thank you so much, Diego, and thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thanks, Praveen. Thank you all.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Zinnov's Business Resilience series. Stay tuned for more such interesting episodes and subscribe to our podcast on Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. To know more about Zinnov, and if you believe we can help with your problems, please visit our website www.zinnov.com or drop us a note at info@zinnov.com. Thank you again, and don't forget to tune in to our next episode.